Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, race fans, sim fans, RC fans, Racing 393. So this is the video that's leading up to my practice. I say practice, but my next club meeting at Eastbourne, which is this Sunday. What's the date? I don't know, I can never remember the date. What is it now? 19th. So 19th of February, they've got another club meeting at Eastbourne at Robertsbridge. So that's going to be my first normal meeting rather than that national meeting when I was a little, well, I'll probably be a little bit out of my depth at the club meeting, to be honest, but more so at the national level. Anyhow, so although this is a little bit of prep, it will be leading up to the racing and beyond, and sort of the outcome of that meeting. So a slightly longer video in prospect. So all the previous videos, car's done, as done as it can be at the moment. So worthy of mentioning, well, the obvious one is the hand controller. The only time I've actually tried this was on the PC sim of RC Pro, I think it's called, isn't it? And I sort of plugged it in. I sort of done a back-to-back test with my Fly Sky and this, and I must admit, my Fly Sky felt exactly how it did when I was at the BRCA meeting, like all over the shop. And when I was on this one, much better. Even someone that doesn't know what they're doing, as so to speak. I made like, what was it, 2, 3, 4 seconds? I don't know. I could have done more. I haven't really been on it, haven't had time. I do plan to spend some more time on the practice sim to get me used to doing it. Like I said in the video, if you watch the video, I believe it's a very good tool for training. So that was that. So we're kind of up where we're at now. The car's done. I mean, I've still got the same tyres on. I know they're probably shagged. Definitely. They definitely could do with being a bit more meat on the bone. So I have got some other tyres here. They're the rears. These are the fronts. They're quite soft. Soft. Who knows? Who cares? I'm sure they'll work. Black and round. Although, as tyres go, and any racing, and I think I've said this many times before, tyres are probably one of the most important things to get right. They're the only thing that touches the ground. So everything else has to work around them. They in all aspects of racing, karting, stock car racing, this to a degree, maybe not to quite as much as degree, sim racing. Actually, I'm not going to go too much into sim racing. There's a lot of nuances with sim racing which doesn't match up to real life racing, even this. So yeah. I'm going to turn these down. There is meat on the bone here, but I think, I haven't measured them. There's definitely slightly too much. I'm not going to take too much off. These are super skinny, but based on what I saw at the last meeting, a lot of the cars are running like more tyre. And when you look at it, when I sort of think back, a lot of the cars were a lot quicker. They were lapping very quick, and when I was watching at trackside, you can hear the engine, the motor wind up, and the tyre slip. Zzz, zzz, you can hear it. So that, coupled with the fact that they're quicker, means that you do need some tyre on the wheel, otherwise it just ain't going to work. I'm going to try these tyres. We'll get them treated when I'm at the meeting, and I'll do a practice and maybe a heat. That'll be the plan. And then what I probably will do is bolt these on. These will be turned down. I don't know what I'm going to turn down to yet, but I'll get them roughly somewhere in the line of what I've been advised in previous videos. So that's that. That's the only thing I've got to do. Now the other, what I did try, this was a real, I think I should stop swearing in my videos, right? There's no point. be honest. But oh my God, I had this idea and it took me hours to sort out. And not only that, I had to ring Schumacher just before I started work to ask them some advice. And even they said, or their answer was, the guy I spoke to at sales, yeah, it is quite hard. So if they're saying that, my fingers are numb. Let me explain. So in my previous video, I mentioned that I will get another servo. It's not absolutely detrimental. It's not in the car at the moment. I haven't done it, and I'll explain why. So the servo I bought, might be upside down in there, who cares? This one. It's a Sanwa PGS-HR. So specifically for this, well, 112 LMP. There it is. Upon reading certain things, I don't know, but clearly that servo's far more advanced than I am, and it is programmable. So I bought one of these. The multi, what is this? A multi-setting gear. Now I have read a bit about this. It is super advanced. My brain can't cope with that much info. So that's that. And I wasn't going to fit this. I was going to leave it. But then in my wisdom, I thought, hey, it can't be that difficult. Yes, the video's broken because my brain broke. It would fit, and it does fit. Let me go. It will go in there. It's not a big issue. Clearly, and I was kind of in my mind. I didn't think the servo saver off of my core RC one would fit this. I had that in my mind, but I just had to check. I couldn't find any info on how many teeth this is. I now know it doesn't fit. Right. So when I took the servo horn or servo saver off the core RC, now this servo saver is the one that comes with the Eclipse 4, nearly said 5, so I keep reading about it. It's Eclipse 4. And those that know, you're going to know this, that servo saver slots in and it's got a spring that goes round the inside. I'm not going to swear, but oh my God, I could not get that spring back in. It's super difficult. It's pinged across the kitchen I don't know how many times. I'm like, yeah, I've never ever had so much trouble with anything, with something which only should just pop on. Unless there's a way of doing it, it's done. It's not perfect, I must admit. I don't think it's fitted straight. I think the inner bit is slightly canted. It is annoying me because I know it's not dead straight, but it's going to do. So it transpires that I had to put the servo back on, servo horn, no big deal with the servo, but the servo horn, nightmare. Good grief. So what I've had to do is, well, Schumacher don't have a servo saver that fit that, not at the moment. 23 teeth, what's that one? 26, don't know, smaller anyway, whatever it is. So it does need a specific servo saver. What, servo horn, it's a servo saver. So it's not going in the car for this practice session. But it is lighter, it is tiny, it's plastic, programmable, advanced. You know, it's not going to make a massive difference to me at the minute, but it probably would improve my driving once I get better. So that was it really. I mean, I spent all morning. I say all morning. I had to go to work. I was almost late getting to my first lesson. I was just not going to give up, but I had to. I thought I can't do it. My fingers and thumbs, my index finger and thumb, are absolutely buzzing with pain. Christ, why is it made that difficult? What? I've never had that. I've never had that much trouble with anything in all my racing life. I'm trying to think. Even carburetors and cars and carburetors on carts. And springs and it's just, I don't know, flipping heck. I'm not looking forward to, well, I won't be taking it off. I'll be taking the servo off complete with the horn on there, the servo saver, and hopefully I'm going to put an order in for the one that's supposed to fit this one, and then I'll change them over. I'll look into the programmable side of it at some point. So that's that. So the rest of this video, I mean, I'll probably film myself a bit of driving, should I? I don't know, is that going to be useful? Driving down there, you know I'm going to do it. A bit of chat, a bit of feedback, just so it's, I don't know, maybe I won't do that, I don't know yet. But I'll try and film a little bit more when I'm there, of the racing. I don't know what to do yet. The battery on this is rubbish. It doesn't last. What's it up at the moment? Don't know, I can't see. But the battery on the GoPro doesn't last at all. I've got an extended one. I bought another battery and I haven't used it yet. So, yeah, that's that. I'm sort of running out of things to say now, so I'm going to leave it there. I'll be back when I get in the car and I'm on my way. Drive down, hopefully some daylight. The track gets set up about between 8 and 9. So I'll get there about 8:30-ish. And we'll do some prep. I mean, it's going to be, for me, it's a club meeting. It's a winter round. I think there's 2 winter rounds, one more in March. I haven't booked into that one, but it's in my calendar to do. But I'm working on the Saturday. I've got an event working on the Saturday in Guildford, and then I've got that on the Sunday. I don't know if I'm too tired. I have to think about it. I'll know how tired I'll be after the event on Saturday. So I don't know yet. And that's the only one I'm actually looked at booking into. Though these next 2, as it were. So I do have plans going forward, RC wise, but we'll come to that as and when. That's it. Right. So before I sort of start just umming and ahhing and erring, I'll see you in the car on my way to Robertsbridge. I'm looking forward to it. Morning. Right. Well, yeah, I did do a little bit of a recording on my way. Don't know if it really interests many people, this bit. I don't, you know, maybe there's not a lot to say other than I'm on my way. I could just leave it there, couldn't I? But we're on our way. From where I live, it's about 80 miles to get to this place. That's quite a commitment in itself, isn't it? 80 miles. I can remember doing 80 miles and more, and a lot more, when racing, you know, in real life cars. And even then, sometimes I just think to myself, I don't know if I can be bothered. Just sometimes that mindset, isn't it? I enjoyed driving and racing and etc, etc. But there's times when you used to think to yourself, I think I'll stay at home, save some money. You know what it's like on the road? You get on the road sometimes and then you get a complete twat that's behind you. There's one behind me. I'm doing 55. It's a 54 now. It's a 50-mile-an-hour road, 53. And he's right up my chuff. You know, it's only 20 past 7 in the morning. We've got some twat that's coming up alongside you. We're on the motorway now. bit of a track now, it's pretty much straight there, to be honest. And for information purposes, the twat behind us decides not to be so close. So, yeah, you always get them, don't you, in the time of the morning? It's just the way it is, I suppose. There he goes, but you can't see him. Anyway, I'll leave it there, and I'll catch up with you when I'm there, basically, in about, I don't know, and well, we're not here, we're at Roberts Bridge. So that's taken long at all, really. So around, that was quite quick, around 15, I suppose. Yeah, so let me I was gonna park up, be about 2 minutes, get all my kit out, and I'll be back on. And we're here. Right, got to get all my gear out now. That in itself's a job. Anyway, be back in a minute. So I thought I'd do a bit of footage locally. These particular cars, the touring cars, the indoor carpet track, 1/10 scale, they're okay. They need to be opened out a little bit more, don't they? They're more suited to the outdoor track. They run, as far as I'm aware, rubber tyres.
2 minutes is 3, 2, 4,
yeah, quite good.
1.
Expensive for what they are. But these are the LMP12s. These are how you're supposed to drive them. You can see they're almost too quick, but the enjoyment is making them easier to drive and improving your lap time. You can see that you can hear they're actually on power. I can't actually do that on my car. It's not as stable. So that's one of the areas that I need to look at. You can also tell that they're, what I can gather there, like a solid rear axle. They just sound, just the way they move and the way they grip around the corners. Very darty, which is inherently
the
how they
order at 2
handle, how they
minutes
look.
is 5, 3,
nowhere near
2,
that quick.
1,
These
4.
are kind of, the reasonably good drivers. Well, that's Roberts Bridge done. What did I think today then? Well, I think I did better today. I was still the slowest one there, but I was improving as the time went on. I think my main issue is getting now. I can sense now a little bit of car setup is needed. I can kind of see limitations to what I'm doing and limitations to the car, because I was quite consistent with my driving. I think if anything, the transmitter has definitely made a big difference. It's chalk and cheese, night and day. So that was a good purchase. So the next thing now is going to be a little bit of car setup. I know what it was doing. It pushed under power quite a lot, to the point where the car couldn't be controlled under power on corners. I do run a diff, a ball diff. The ball diff is supposed to make the car easier to drive. Not many people run the diffs, as I've led to believe. Most will run a solid axle. The car, I think with a solid axle, maybe the car's harder to drive. I think I might have mentioned that previously, but for me at the moment, the ball diff will be a way forward for me at the moment. But one of the things I did change, which I felt was, I noticed it, were the rear tyres. Now, I put some new tyres on all round. I turned the front tyres down, and I'll be honest with you, I couldn't be bothered to do the rears. They were just new, 46 millimeters diameter. and I think that raised my ride height by loads. My ride height on my old tyres when it was on the car was 3 mil or thereabouts. Of course, putting the new rear tyres on raised it up too high, and what I did suffer with was rear end grip and grip roll, which was odd. Which means I was getting the grip from the tyre prep and the softener, which was good, but I think I didn't want to mess around doing the ride heights because I know that it was only the tyres that were different. So I put my old tyres on that I used at the BRCA meeting. I was told they were shagged, they looked it, but it handled much better. Clearly with a better set of tyres, but trued and treated, it would have been a bit more stable maybe, but the car does push, so I need to look into perhaps, well, funny thing is it pushes under power and tucks in off power, so I've got this. Again, it's probably a little bit of driving style, if I'm honest. But I improved every race. I think I did more laps each time, apart from one. What I will do is I'll show you the times. I'll get them off the website and talk through them on this video. Yeah, I was quite pleased with that. I did make improvements, so yeah, car went well. I did try to keep out of the way more so with the faster cars coming through. I'm still way off. I mean, you're talking a fast driver might get around there in 11 seconds. I mean, they'll get around there in 9 to be honest, but 11 seconds, and I could sort of manage a consistent 15. So I've got to get another 3 seconds. I know where it is, because I know I'm not even on full power, because the car is not that stable on full power. Not that I can control it anyway. So there's definitely 100% that's where I'm losing. Around the corners, you know, on some of the corners I'm as quick as anybody else. It does handle pretty well, but yeah, I need to get full power, and when you come off the power, you don't want it to tuck in and steer into the corner, do you know what I mean? So it sort of drifts out. But anyway, let's a good result I think all round. Let me show you the results. I'll try and take some screenshots of that, and I'll talk you through it.
Right, here we are. So this is the results that for the meeting that I attended on Sunday. So looking at here, you can see qualifying rounds. You know, if you've been, you know how it works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 qualifying rounds on pretty much the same result. It's not about the results, like where I finished. But let me just I'm not going to go through it all, because, you know, end of the day, it's me coming last. Do you know what I mean? But if I go to, I was the first in the first group, LMP. These are the lowest skilled drivers, if you like. So, yeah, definitely 100% I should be in there. And also, I've got at the end of the video, I'll summarise that with the car about my thoughts going forward. So let's just go through some of these times first. So you can see there was a bit of a mix up with the transponders. These two drivers should be the other way around, but if you just sort of gather, this is a 5-minute race, and I was going by, to be honest, I wasn't too bothered about my best lap, more so of my best 10. Well, I needed 17. That's an average, I think, isn't it? But I was more interested in how many laps I did. So when I first went out, bearing in mind this was with the new tyres as it was set up, I done 17 laps. I'm going to come back, and round 2 qualifying. I did 17 before. I was worse that time. I think what happened. I think in the second round, my servo saver failed, so my steering was locked on. I didn't fix it, someone fixed it, but I bought another one. But yeah, that's why that was not as good. It is a representation of where I finished, and the leader there, Charlie, I think he's a good representation of pace. John has been doing it a bit longer than me, about 18 months longer for touring cars. I haven't said that, not so much in the LMP, but he's got a lot more experience. So, but the kind of the goal here in my head is Charlie, and that's that kind of pace. Maybe somewhere around 10, 11 seconds. I'd be quite happy if it was consistent with that, and getting up to the high 20s. That's my goal. A long way off yet, but yeah, that was a particularly good round. That qualifying 2. So to qualifying 3, same. So I did 17 laps. I think again I had servo problems. The servo saver, I hadn't changed it. I just sort of loosened it and adjusted it. I hadn't actually done anything to it until then, and this is where it got changed. So pretty much the same, unfortunately. So I had no real improvements. You can see the times there are kind of representing the speed and the laps that they're likely to done. So that's kind of the goal, like I said before. So that was round 3. Qualifying round 4, I improved quite a lot for me. I did another extra 2 laps, 19. This was kind of my pace in 5 minutes, if I'm honest. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but at the end of the video, I will summarise my findings and a sort of a close out of this video of what I got a good idea of where those seconds are. I know you might think, drive faster. Yeah, alright. So that's round 4. And round 5, we improved again. So you can see very slowly improving. That's kind of 19 to 20, I think, in 5 minutes on that track layout is kind of where I was. But what I'm looking at is I improved throughout the qualifying. I was getting more consistent. I did have problems in the early stages with the car, so you can see that my lap times have gone up significantly, but I'm still not on par with John. But yeah, it's getting there. I'm slowly getting there. So that was the end of qualifying. There's 2 finals. I don't know why they do that. 2 finals, rounds 1 and 2. I was in the B final on both, obviously. I don't know why they have 2. More driving, all good. So there we go. So I didn't do as well in that one. It was because that's an actual race. I was more trying to keep out of people's way. But 17 laps. Again, I'm sort of on my lap times and speed. Yeah, but this was because I spent a bit longer because it's a race. I didn't want to, and the 2 in front were really close together, and I didn't want to compromise them. So I spent a lot of time getting out of the way in that one. These 2 drivers weren't in that race. Sometimes it comes up and the transponder's not working, but they weren't in there. At least I wasn't last, which makes a change. Anyway, and on to the final one. This is the final B final for me, and again I think that was my better run. 20 laps. a bit better with my times. For me, improving. I found out. I'll come back to why that was there. There was a massive finding that I did. I just had a thought, and I changed something on the car. It did work. I'll come back to that when I show you the car. So yeah, so there we that. So there we that. We cut that out. Yeah, so that was that. Overall, throughout the day, improving until the last final. I'm pleased with it. It's going to take a longer process, but let me just do a quick, maybe a 10-minute closing, maybe 15-minute closing, depends if I wrap it on a bit, of the car and my findings and my plans going forward. So that was the results. I'll see you in a second.
Right, here's my closing. So, thoroughly enjoyed the meeting. I'll tell you what's addictive about it is it's not so much, because I first thought when it comes to RC, I'll give you a little bit of my own thoughts here. For me, RC racing it's too quick. You know, the cars, the scale speed of the majority of RC cars is quicker than what it should be. You know, it's a bit like Scalextrics, the scale speed being like 300 miles an hour. But if they went scale speed, like what they should do, it'd be boring. I get that. And my first thought on LMP, from just by looking up on it before I even bought one, was they're just too quick. They're too quick. However, as I've done a couple of meetings now, what I've found out is the addictiveness of improvement and consistency. It isn't so much if the end result of that is a win or a competitive race, then that's also really good. But even the racing, when you watch it from a bystander, it looks hectic. It's not. I'm gonna have to be careful here. The cars don't look like they're really racing. Do you know what I mean? They're whizzing around all over the place, darting around, and it just looks chaotic. Even though I'll come back to that, but just hold that thought for a minute. I'm trying to get you to understand what I mean. But the addictiveness, if I can even say that word, of tweaking your car, making it easy to drive, not hitting things, tyre preparation, especially on these, consistent lap times, and maybe, you know, if you're near a car, you don't hit that car, and it's a very clean overtake, and you do in 5 minutes you do your X amount of laps with an average lap time, etc. And you get your car when you finished, and you look at it and you can see the wear on the tyres, and if there's any improvements, and you change something on the car and you notice it on track. It's that bit which I find super addictive. The fact that I was last in the race, it does not even, for me at the moment, doesn't really cause me any negative thoughts. Anyway, that's just my sort of overview of RC racing, specifically the LMP. Right, so I'll give you a bit of a feedback on what I think. So when I turned up at the meeting, I still had the old servo in there, and I did think the servo horn, when I put it back on, that it came with the kit, didn't fit properly. I wasn't happy with how it felt. It transpired that in a couple of my heats, the servo horn didn't spring back. Hence why I had, like, average for me, was it 16 or 17 laps. I also had new tyres on, so the front ones you can see there. I'm gonna probably, what I'll do is, let me just move the camera. So that one there is, can't remember the make of it, but the front tyre. I turned I turned that down. So I went down to like 43 mil. To be specific, 43.03 and 43.07. I think, to me, the fronts definitely did turn down. Now, the rears of those tyres, so I bought some rears, I didn't bother turning down. Now, you're going to probably say, oh, you know, I know, I get it, right? But I had to try some things to get it wrong so I could get it right. Now, the rear tyres in their standard form, like the fronts, were, I think, 46 millimetres. Of course, I'm just going to move the camera. I haven't got those tyres on at the moment because they're not the ones I finished with, but let me just move the camera. They're my old tyres. So the new ones, when they were on there, almost filled those arches out. Not quite, but you know where I'm going with this. 46 mil. It raised the ride height far too much. My height gauge went fully under the car. I'm not daft. Getting the car as low as possible, lower centre of gravity. I'm not going to go into all that, I know, but I wanted to try out to see how it was. And most of my running through the whole meeting was with those tyres on. And I did have issues with grip roll because the centre of gravity was just too high. And I suppose the tyres flexed. Whichever way it was, ride height too high, tyres were too big. It must have changed the rollout. I did notice that, if I'm honest with you, on what I was doing, but it did grip roll a few times. And I was thinking to myself, that's them tyres, it has to be, it's too high at the back. I put these tyres back on, and these are the tyres that I skimmed down at the last BRCA meeting. And to be honest with you, I've probably taken a bit too, there's people throwing away better tyres because they were in the bin than what I've got on my car. I was going to take them out of the bin actually. I thought, well, they're better than what I'm using. Take them out. But yeah, there was these I was told are knackered. They look knackered, but the car went better in the final race of the day with those tyres on. Now, does that mean? It probably means that they were really bad. When I put new tyres on and I didn't turn them down, I know you're probably sitting, you should do that. I know, I just wanted to try something. Why not? I'm not at any loss, am I? I'll try things out. But it didn't grip roll. It had a lot more rear end grip and more consistent. Hence I did, 21 laps. And my times are more consistent. So just changing the rear tyres to what they're on at the moment, these ones, made a massive improvement. Which means that although if I had better prepared tyres and maybe a little bit more on here, it would be better again. I think my fronts were okay, but it's the rears. Anyway, so that was that. Here we are, the car is just as it is. So, right, I'm gonna have to sort of hold the camera and move the car, so bear with me. Over horn is down there. It is a standard, is it Kimball? I don't know what the name is. It's the one that came with the kit, and that's the one I purchased. It was nothing really. The guy, young lad there, really helpful. He was racing in the Dave Mini. Can't remember his name now. I did watch him actually. He was really good. But he kindly put the other one back together for me, and it was hard. Even he was struggling. He goes, I can't believe that. They shouldn't really come apart like that. So I'm not sure what happened, but that was the one I bought. And the one that was on there is now fixed, so I've got two spare. So that caused the steering problem. You can see the tyres here. If I move that down, they're the tyres I turned down. I think that's fine. These front ones are okay. The back ones, still going to keep them until they don't work. I might turn down the other ones that I was using, so they're sort of a little bit more meat on the bone than what that is. The Sanwa radio system I felt was such an improvement. It has to that must have something to do with consistency for me anyway. And the receiver worked fine, obviously. Now, one of the issues that I did have, I'm just going to turn the car over. Now, during the meeting, they mentioned that people are running their ride heights too low, and to raise them because the carpet was being, or the tape on the carpet was being brought up. And upon inspection of my car, you've got that screw there, that one, and that one. They screw into a threaded insert on the bottom axle beam. It can be adjusted for ride height, etc. But that screw had almost come out and it was at an angle, and I had tape around it. So the reason the carpet or the tape was getting damaged was because of my car. Now I didn't even notice. It did jump around a couple of times. I did notice that, but I felt I didn't know what it was when it was out there. And that these 4 screws, although they're tight, they're not mega tight, not to strip, but they should have been thread locked. All my others have done. I didn't do these 4, so that was my mistake. But yeah, so that was the reason that it wasn't, as far as I'm aware, it wasn't people's ride heights. Okay, so I think that's it. So let me just do a very, very quick closing. So that was a very enjoyable meeting. Now, looking back at what I was never really full throttle. Definitely not. So there's definitely something that I need to, maybe it's a bit of skill level on my part, or set up on the car. I felt, so anyone out there that has any ideas, this is sort of the bit where you can kind of help me out. Let me give you an example. So I run a ball diff, most of them don't, but for now, I did tighten the ball diff up and loosened it off a little bit. It does make a difference. I do understand that a solid rear end is going to be better in the long run, but I'm not going to, I've got one, but I'm not going to run that just yet. So when you go flat out, when you go full throttle, the car tends to want to spin. That could be the diff or the tyres. But when you go full throttle, the car does become a little bit unstable. But you could control that with the throttle. You don't have to sort of just dump the trigger and away you go. Now the problem comes, this is weight transfer or something. I'm trying to, in a real life car, I'm trying to sort of apply it to my knowledge here. So if you power around a corner, it pushes like a lot. Once it's pushing, if you naturally come off the trigger, off the throttle, the front bites and it almost spins. Now, in an ideal world, you'd want to on one of these on power. I would say you want a little bit of push, but mine's, I think, is pushing too much. Now, it could be the front setup, tyres, prep, ride height. You know, to me, I think, I don't know, does it need to be a little bit softer on the front? A little bit, so it's got a little bit more grip, but still pushes under power. You can let me know. Clearly, when you come off the throttle, the front then grips a lot, and then the back, I don't say comes round, but it almost spins. So there's a happy medium of feathering the throttle. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's driving technique, or maybe it's a bit of setup that I could try. I mean, if it's pushing under power, you may want to, you know, the droop on the back is it, so you could harden up the rear end, put a stronger spring on, or the side springs. I'm just trying to think. If it's pushing, is it the back gripping too much, or is it the front not gripping enough? When you come off the power, the back, well, that must be the front, so the weight goes forward and the front grips, pulls it round and tightens up the turn. Doesn't oversteer, just tightens it up. And I think a lot of it could be technique, because I did have a couple of really good cornering when I was as quick as anybody the guy that was Charlie, the one that was leading everywhere. I kept up with him in the corners for about 2 or 3. But then there was the powering out of the corner onto the sort of the straighter bit and the sort of the sweeping corner. No, I just nowhere near. I wasn't, because I wasn't on full throttle. So again, that's probably a little bit of me, must be, and the car a bit easier to drive would help me. So any feedback that you feel is useful for that I could try without being too technical, let me know what way to go or what to change. Try and change one thing at a time, not like a bunch of things. Like I did the tyres myself, and I could see how that worked. I could see why you shouldn't have just standard tyres on there without turning them down. I kind of knew that anyway, but you know, some things you've got to find out yourself. But that's it. So that's I know it says 20 minutes on this recording, this bit, but it'll be edited it down a little bit. But anyway, that's the second time out. Really enjoyed it. I'm gonna thank you in advance for any feedback, mainly the handling. But yeah, it could even be transmitter. Could I slow down the dual rate or something so it doesn't turn, so I don't turn as much? So I know when I do turn, the wheels turn quite a lot. So maybe you don't need that much steering because it encourages push. It sort of oversteers, not oversteer, but the front steers too much. I didn't check that. I thought it was something like 15 degrees. I could be wrong. I can't remember what it said on my setup sheet thing. Anyway, look forward to your feedback. Appreciate that in advance. Thanks for watching, listening. Hope you enjoyed that. On a final note, it's a friendly club, friendly people, right? And without pointing the finger, don't know the guy's name. He's a good driver, but he's an arse. What an attitude! I don't know. It's just something he said he said something to me, not about my driving, because I wasn't in the race he was in, obviously. But there was just a comment. I'm not going to go into too much detail. A comment made, which I felt made me think, "You arse," and it's just, you're just playing with a toy car. I know that's going to rub people the wrong way, but you know what I mean. There's no need for that. Come on, you know. Anyway, that's that. So I've already got someone on my radar that I'm going to have to be as quick as. That's not going to happen. He's mental quick. Anyway, but he's not the quickest. Oh, Ollie Payne was there. What a driver. Many things impressed me in life. That, because I was watching his race. Just want to say, Ollie Payne, I know you don't watch this, but if anyone knows him, to message him to say that I've said how good he knows how good he is. I just want to say, from a noob, wow, that guy, that young lad, flipping heck, robot, super fast, accurate, always effortless. He doesn't even break a sweat. What a guy for this, anyway. Anyway, that's that. I'm finished. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you later. Bye for now.